All right, folks, let's talk about this upcoming Mercury retrograde. It's a good time to do so. The one thing I'm going to say is please do refer to the last video I did on Venus retrograde along with this video. This year and over this summer, both the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde go hand in hand. Venus is retrograde in Leo, Mercury is retrograde in Virgo. Venus is already retrograde, went retrograde around July the 23rd, is going to go direct on September the 4th. Mercury is getting ready to go retrograde, but is already in Virgo and will go retrograde on, August the 23rd, and will go direct on September the 15th. So between August the 23rd and September the 4th, both planets will be retrograde. And there's a lot of information shared in the Venus retrograde that will be relevant because it really is sort of a combined narrative. Indeed, some of the information shared here has already been shared there as well. So at least some of it has. But this video, I just want to focus primarily on the Mercury retrograde, and you guys can take both of those videos and see where it is that what it is that you need to incorporate. The broad narrative of this summer, let's just say from about July the 23rd to September the 15th, indeed till the end of September, even into October, is that first and foremost, we should assume that a certain amount of forward momentum continues on a global level. And by global, I mean not just your chart, from a general astrological perspective. So even if you end up having Mercury retrograde in your own birth chart, for example, and Mercury retrograde periods find you decisive and dealing with the energy in a totally different way than those of us who don't have Mercury retrograde in our birth chart, even if a Mercury retrograde period finds you clearer, faster in your processing, more decisive, with significant developments happening or decision making happening during that time for you because you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, the fact that the majority of people don't, and the world is going to be operating in the way that sort of the Mercury retrograde myth and lore, I shouldn't call it a myth, you're still existing in a world, you're still living in a world where the majority of people have Mercury direct in their birth chart. So from an overall perspective, I mean insofar as this does not apply to each and every one of your individual charts, there's forward momentum and movement till August the 15th. I would go further, I would even say up till about August the 20th. August the 20th onwards, we're going to start to feel this, and it's the days when Mercury is going retrograde and going direct, August the 23rd and September the 15th, and the days around when a retrograde Mercury conjuncts the Sun, which is going to happen on September the 6th, that the Mercury retrograde energies are felt most keenly. But I find that in terms of intensity, I would say the day when Mercury is going retrograde, August the 23rd. So let's give it 3 days before, 3 days after, August 20th to 26th. Secondly, when Mercury is going direct, so that would be September 15th. So let's say September 12th to 18th, and around the time when Mercury conjuncts the Sun, September the 3rd to September the 9th, which is the vast majority. I'm so sorry. These blinds are there. The curtain is open. I've been having so much fun with these blinds as I've been. The nice thing is it gives, you can see this is what it does, then there's so much more light. Isn't it nice that there's a breeze because it's almost 90 degrees outside? Yeah, I don't want things moving in front of the screen while I'm talking to you, so sorry about that. And you're just gonna have to deal with a little bit of glare back here. So we'll continue. Oh goodness, why am I why am I doing this? Here, that's better. Okay, so forward movement till about August the 20th. And then, as I've mentioned to you in my last video, when Mercury goes retrograde, not only do the mundane things we associate with Mercury going retrograde occur, delays, misunderstandings, miscommunications, things taking 3 times as long to process, simple calls with customer service, losing bags, travel delays, traffic delays, thinking you've left enough time for something but still not having left enough time for it, technology breaking down, all those kinds of things. We're so dependent on Mercury, as I've said before on this channel, to keep us transacting and moving forward. And for people who are now working more from home or commuting or anything to do with commuting and transactions and technology is likely to, the best laid plans, even factoring in Mercury retrograde, can find flies in the ointment and delays and challenges. So logistical challenges. You have travel, you look at your ticket and your booking, and it looks like you're going to be leaving at 6:15 in the morning, but then it turns up actually that you misread it and it's going to be 6:15 in the evening, blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff can play up. Calls with customer service or flight people or administrators or transactors, or can just take on a life of their own, losing things, misplacing things, all that kind of stuff that we associate with Mercury retrograde. All of that occurs, but the larger purpose of Mercury retrograde is so that something or things that are in our blind spot become more available to us. We become aware of them. We think we're moving forward on something and something is moving forward, and Mercury goes retrograde, and around those days, particularly the first few days while Mercury is going retrograde, so we're talking about August 20th to 26th or thereabouts, with the 23rd being the day when Mercury goes retrograde, is when something comes to, and the example I like to give is, this is an example. We are moving forward. There's a job opportunity. We think all the 3 people we've been interviewing with are behind us, so everyone is on the same page, and we realize through some communications often that, 2 people are, but 1 person is not. And 1 person may say, and why are they not? And what is going on? And what is someone's plan? And who is everybody? And does this mean I still feel the same way about this then? Do I want this to keep moving forward? Do I want to look for something else? Do I want to do something else? Does this still apply? Can we work out a compromise? All is not what it seems. And we are all to be forgiven for thinking that all is what it seems, because when we're moving forward, we're all moving forward really fast, and people are presenting themselves in a certain way. And sometimes the things we learn aren't entirely intentionally deceitful. They just are what they are. People are moving forward and carrying on with their lives, but sometimes people may not be fully on board. Situations may not be all clear. Details may not be all there. People may say we've got approval for something, but we find out that they don't really. And so sometimes this can be quite disappointing and disorienting, because you think, what I'm being told is the way it's going, and we start to build this expectation, perfectly natural, perfectly human, that things are going to unfold in a particular way, and then Mercury goes retrograde and we're just like, wait a second, why? I did not know this. And so Mercury retrograde does us a huge favor by unveiling and uncovering things that have been in our blind spots, and that is what causes us to go back to the drawing board. While Mercury is retrograde, another conventional thing that I think is worth holding on to, which is, while Mercury is retrograde, avoid signing or committing to something, because it's possible that when Mercury goes direct, greater clarity emerges regarding it. While Mercury is retrograde, we are not, and other people around us are not always processing details effectively. So there could have been a verbal conversation, and a sign-on bonus could be $6,000, but when you get the letter, it's $600, and you quickly sign it and give it back, and then it either has to be corrected or can't be corrected. Those kinds of, that's a kind of an extreme example, but that kind of stuff. If you do have to sign something or commit to something, look at it multiple times, 3 or 4 times, go over it in great detail. Make sure the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, to use the conventional Mercury retrograde advice before you sign something. And it could be that once Mercury goes direct, just be prepared that all may not be what it seems with regard to what is being shared while Mercury is retrograde. And again, sometimes it's the best laid plans and best laid intentions, and people aren't being cruel. Goodness, breezy, windy day in Los Angeles. Sometimes people are not being deliberately cruel or deceitful. Sometimes people are who they are, or operating the way they operate, Sometimes it could be the people who are telling us the truth, or what it is that we have been made to hear, that are the ones who are being a little bit not quite completely real and transparent about what it is that is going on. So it doesn't always have to be the person who's not on board. It could be the people who have been on board who are not giving the full picture also. So that is the biggest question with Mercury retrograde. When we filter out the day-to-day drama it creates, the day-to-day distractions and the day-to-day delays and frustrations, which aren't minor, they're temporary, but sometimes they can be really off-putting. Sometimes they can be really frustrating. It's sort of the classic, you know, yelling into the ether, like, I can't believe we're having this conversation, or I can't believe this person isn't getting this, or I can't believe I'm even having this conversation. This is so inane. I can't believe this is taking so long. I can't believe this person doesn't, I can't believe they're expecting me to have this screw in this package, and I'm telling them it's not, but they're insisting it's, you know, it's this kind of unreal, ridiculous conversations. Classic Mercury retrograde. I can't believe it's going to take 5 days for me to get my bags. I can't believe this person can't even see that I checked in bags, you know. That kind of stuff. But outside of that mundane stuff, because the planet of keeping things moving forward transactionally in terms of commuting and cars and vehicles and technology, and everything now is commuting and cars and vehicles and technology and transportation and technology and technology and technology. Most of our transactions are on technology. Outside of that, the larger purpose or meaning behind a Mercury retrograde and the need to slow down during that time and to hit the brakes and to not be moving forward as fast is to allow a retrograde Mercury to bring things to your attention that may need to be factored into your overall plan before you move forward again after September the 15th or September the 18th, if you want to give Mercury 2 or 3 days so that it can move forward, okay? When you combine the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde together, it is fair to say that while there is still significant and perhaps important in terms of opportunities, forward movement occurring even while Venus is retrograde, and this is why I want you to refer to the Venus retrograde video I did just before this one, last one video I did. So opportunities may continue and they may be significant and important and worth looking at. We head into Mercury retrograde around August 2020 on August 23rd. And so no matter what is going on with regard to opportunities and things that are up and about and that we're juggling and thinking about and how we're planning to move forward, the final dotting the I, crossing the T, moving forward does not really start to happen until after September 20th or so. And then Mercury is still going through its shadow period. So Mercury entered its shadow period on August the 3rd. So it's already been about 4 or 5 days. So it's a good vantage point to look back for the past 4 or 5 days. Mercury is going to be retrograde between 8 degrees and 22 degrees of Virgo. So shadow Mercury reached 8 degrees of Virgo on August the 3rd. It's going to get to 22 degrees of Virgo on August the 23rd. It is going to go retrograde on August the 23rd. Go back to 8 degrees of Virgo on September 15th, direct again, and end its shadow period on September the 30th. There's one thing I want to just quickly research. So while my browser's just booting up, I'm going to talk about it. So while Mercury does this, Mercury is in Virgo. There are 2 sets of transits that Mercury is making that are important. During its time period in Virgo, it is going to oppose Saturn and oppose Neptune. Any planet that's going to transit Virgo is going to oppose Saturn and Pisces and oppose Neptune. Mars is in the process of doing that. Mars opposed Saturn and it is getting ready to oppose Neptune, but Mars is not going to go retrograde, so it's going to oppose Neptune and go through. The other set of transits that Mercury is going to make, again elaborated on in my last Venus retrograde video. Goodness, this breeze is driving me crazy. I should be grateful for it. Is the fact that Mercury from Virgo is going to trine Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. Now, I don't know how much attention you want me to give this whole sort of Taurus. Give me 1 second. I'm sort of doing this on the fly a little bit because it just occurred to me there's one transit that I need to focus on a little bit and tell you about. So thanks for your patience. Here we go. Okay, 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 people. So, the sign of Taurus, where Jupiter and Uranus are, is also being aspected notably by the retrograde Venus. So Venus retrograde, Venus in Leo, and Mars and Mercury in Virgo are both transiting Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. The next lunar eclipse in Taurus is on October the 28th. August the 28th, the week before and week after, is an important milestone for that eclipse. The sign of Taurus is where we had the North Node recently, and the October 28th eclipse is a North Node eclipse. The sign of Taurus is also where the current Mercury cycle is taking place. When a retrograde Mercury meets up with the Sun, which it will on September the 6th, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, it will start a new Mercury cycle in Virgo. But the last time Mercury was retrograde, it was retrograde in Taurus. So we have a communication cycle, a Mercury cycle related to the sign of Taurus that is still active right now. The sign of Taurus, where Jupiter is creating a new beginning and Uranus is creating changes or growing awareness so that we can express ourselves more authentically in that part of the chart, is probably right now one of the two most important parts of the chart where we need to be directing our energies. One of the important parts is the sign of Capricorn, where Pluto is completing its transit since 2008 in the second half of this year and briefly in the second half of next year. I've done a Pluto video 3 or 4, 5, 6 videos ago. Take a look at that. That is the most important area to focus your attention right now, because we have to help Pluto complete its transit. We need to pay attention to the transitions and changes that Pluto has been making in the Capricorn part of the chart. What house is occupied by Capricorn? What does that house stand for? That part of the chart has been going through important and necessary and constructive changes, but we need to aid those changes and work in partnership with Pluto and complete those changes in the second half of this year, especially and briefly in the second half of next year, or else Pluto may create a situation that forces us to make appropriate behavioral changes in that part of the chart. Okay, but the second part of the chart that also needs a certain amount of important attention is where Taurus is in our chart, the house it occupies and what that house stands for. Because Jupiter is trying to end a 12, 13-year cycle and open a 12, 13-year cycle. Uranus is trying to make us more authentic in that part of the chart. And the last of this set of North Node eclipses occurs in that part of the chart on October the 28th, with August the 28th playing an important role that week before, week after, the week when Mercury goes retrograde in that part of the chart. And a retrograde Mercury is trining and supporting the Taurus part of the chart, just as a retrograde Venus is also, while she is squaring Taurus, is impacting the Taurus part of the chart pretty significantly. So what is interesting to me is that Venus is squaring both Jupiter and Uranus 3 times during her retrograde. Again, I refer you back to my Venus retrograde video. Mercury, after it entered Virgo, has already opposed Saturn. He's not gonna oppose Saturn again. Is moving direct right now. Mercury is going to trine Jupiter tomorrow for the first time, August 9th, which is why I thought this was a good time to do this video. Trine Jupiter. Keep moving forward. As it gets to 22 degrees of Virgo, where it's going to go retrograde, there are 3 aspects that it is about to make that it does not make. It is not able to trine Uranus in Taurus. It is not able to oppose Neptune in Pisces, and it is not able to conjunct Mars in Virgo. Instead, it goes retrograde. Similarly, Venus, when she was going direct, was getting ready to conjunct Mars and was not able to do so. before she went retrograde. These retrogrades, this is why these retrogrades have a sense of pregnancy, have a sense of growing things, have a sense of opportunities that need to be considered, that need to be invested in, that need to be explored, especially till August the 23rd, but let's say August the 20th. But while Mercury is retrograde, that's when we need to kind of just test everything, make sure everything is aligned, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, pay attention to what a retrograde Mercury is bringing to our attention, because it's going to be after September the 15th and after the September the 18th that we're going to feel like momentum can start to move forward. After Mercury goes direct, he or they are able to make the 3 transits that they were not able to make before they went retrograde. So we're moving forward and something is about to happen and something is about to develop and we have forward movement of clarity, and then Mercury goes, wait. Let me bring all this to the surface so that you really have a sense of what is going on. And you can really start to integrate that and determine what that means to you and how you're going to move forward with it past September the 15th or September the 18th. While Mercury is retrograde, the one trine that it makes 3 times is with Jupiter in Taurus. So creating that new beginning in Taurus and helping Jupiter create that new beginning in Taurus is very much something that Mercury is trying to do during this retrograde. The first of these trines happens on August the 9th. Mercury goes retrograde on August the 23rd, trines Jupiter again while they're retrograde on September the 4th, goes direct on September the 15th, and September the 25th trines Jupiter again. So there's 3 trines that happen on August the 9th, September the 4th, while Mercury is retrograde, and September the 25th, final time when Mercury is direct. Also, September the 30th, Mercury ends its shadow period, and on the same day, finally trines Uranus, which it was not able to do before it went retrograde. On October the 2nd, 2 or 3 days later, it opposes Neptune, and this is the date I was trying to get. On October the 29th, finally is able to conjunct Mars. The other thing that I have said to you is the upcoming new moons are really lovely. The new moon in Leo trines the North Node on August the 16th. Lovely. The new moon in Virgo trines Uranus in Taurus. Remember, we've been talking about these trines to Jupiter, and lovely. But the new moon in Leo happens while Venus is retrograde. The new moon in Virgo happens when Mercury is stationary. So both these new moons that then take us to the new moon solar eclipse in Libra in the middle of October have a sense of, even though they are new moons and are trying to move us forward, and which is why they're kind of pregnant with the opportunity, at the same time, don't promise or yield decisive forward movement that is moving us forward. It's almost like opportunities are coming up and being brought up, and some of them, there might be choices to make between. It's important to show up for the opportunities, as I said, but to keep question marks out there until things are signed, so that this kind of shuffling of information about these opportunities and which opportunity shall I take and how will this work out, it's a time for planning forward movement that will really occur after September the 18th, once both Mercury and Venus are direct, but even more so after the end of September, once Mercury clears a shadow period and finally trines Uranus and opposes Neptune, and even more after the Libra new moon eclipse in the middle of October, when it's just like, okay, by that time it's like we're on the plane. So even though the Virgo new moon has a stationary Mercury on it, which almost suggests that till the middle of October, we're still kind of in a place of, we're slowly starting to gather momentum and move forward, but for that lunar month, we're still kind of in a static place. I think when I refer to forward movement, I refer to the plan of execution unfolding and us acting on it. Prior to that, prior to September 18th, we are still in planning mode. And planning includes availing of opportunities at least till August the 20th or so, vetting everything and getting clear on details and keeping our hands on the steering wheel and paying attention to what comes up while Mercury is retrograde, allowing Mercury, along with Venus during these retrograde periods, to really help create appropriate new beginnings and developments in the sign of Taurus, allowing Mercury and Mars, as they oppose Saturn and Uranus in Pisces, to develop appropriate plans of action related to the Virgo part of the chart that will serve getting serious about the Pisces part of our chart, where there have been crises and loss and deceit brewing and release brewing since 2015, 2016. So how will the planet of action, Mars, and how will the planet of thinking and planning and giving something a certain amount of mental attention so that action can be taken towards it, support putting out the fires that have been burning in the Pisces part of the chart since 2014, 15, and 16? There's a great opportunity. Remember, Mercury does not oppose Neptune till October the 2nd. It is almost... There's something may also, not only are there opportunities to look at, there may be during the month of between now and the end of September till the beginning of October, there may be the opportunity to come up with plans and be in communication with people around soothing, healing, solving, coming up with a plan to manage crises in the Pisces part of the chart as well. Now, the retrograde Mercury is more preoccupied and makes direct transits to Jupiter and Taurus. But remember, it is not able to complete its Mercury in Virgo transit. It is not able to conjunct Mars, which it will do in Libra. It is not able to oppose Neptune. It is not able to trine Uranus until it completes its retrograde and is direct and is getting ready to clear its shadow period, shadow area, shadow degrees till the end of September. So, in summary, Mercury trines Jupiter on August 9th tomorrow, while it is direct for the first time, September the 4th, while it is retrograde for the second time, September the 25th, once it is direct for the third time. Mercury is able to trine Uranus on September the 3rd, the day it clears its shadow degrees. It is able to oppose Neptune on October the 2nd, and it conjunct Mars finally in Libra on October the 23rd. I think that's the date I gave you. Now, when Mercury is retrograde, there's one important conjunction that occurs. Mercury is direct, the Sun is following, Mercury goes retrograde, and on September the 6th, Mercury conjuncts the retrograde. The retrograde Mercury conjuncts the Sun. This is the start of a new Mercury cycle in Virgo. Wherever Virgo sits in your chart, what Virgo is about, what it stands for, till the next Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, you are going to be thinking about, communicating about, transacting on the Virgo part of your chart. Hopefully it will develop on. Hopefully this goes back to the fact that Mercury has trined the 3 earth signs exclusively since the beginning of this year. So December and January, we had emphasis on the Capricorn part of the chart that was supporting the Taurus part of our chart. In May of this year, while Mercury was retrograde, it was retrograde in the Taurus part of our chart. Now it is retrograde in the Virgo part of our chart. And I'm hoping that each of these, both the Virgo and the Capricorn part of our chart, are supporting Taurus. But I would encourage you to think back to December, January of this year, which I call the first phase of this year, when there was some opportunity that was being entertained in December that then the Mercury retrograde needed you to assess how you were going to execute on it and how you were going to make it happen. By the middle of February of this year, you were in action. There was forward movement. It's a similar kind of process at this point in time. Then Mercury went retrograde in Taurus, where whatever it was that occurred between February and April, I wouldn't be surprised if there were lessons being learned and things coming through and learning, realizing things. Now Mercury is retrograde getting ready to go retrograde in Virgo, and then until it goes retrograde in Capricorn again at the end of this year, you're going to be thinking about how these 2 prior retrogrades in earth signs are making you think about how to think about and plan the Virgo part of your chart, how to grow it, how to extend it, how to achieve some goals around it. And that date of September 6th is what initiates and starts you thinking about it, with action being taken and really initiating once Mercury goes direct on September the 15th onwards, okay? But also around September the 6th, expect Mercury to be downloading directly from source, directly from your spirit. Expect around September the 6th, the first part of any retrograde. We discussed this in the Venus retrograde video. When Venus is retrograde and it is getting ready to conjunct the sun is when the retrograde meanings are at their most, are making themselves most uncomfortably clear. So with Venus retrograde, whether it is financial planning or relationship awareness, or financial, all those things I discussed in the Venus retrograde video, Venus is getting ready to conjunct the sun. I gave you guys that date on, goodness. Where is this date? I'm so sorry. August the 13th. So in about 5 days, Venus is getting ready to conjunct the sun, a retrograde Venus. So over the next 5 days, I expect that the purpose of this Venus retrograde will become even more clear, and perhaps uncomfortably clear, because a retrograde planet is asking us to go over things and reassess things. You can look at the Venus retrograde video to get more details. Similarly, between August the 23rd and September the 6th is when the Mercury retrograde will really throw up everything you need to know. And when it conjuncts the sun, there's an intuitive knowing of what this Mercury retrograde is trying to bring to your attention. And Mercury and the sun are in communication. The sun operates subconsciously, quietly. It is our source. It is our, I call it subconscious, but it's really our conscious self. And by that I mean not self-conscious self, not our egoic self, our truest soul self, and Mercury, the planet of our mind, are in communication. Mercury retrograde mundane things may come up again because Mercury is combust. It is, not only is it not visible at all, it is totally not visible because the sun is completely obscuring it and is in conversation with it. A retrograde Mercury starts to separate from the sun after September the 6th, goes direct on September the 15th, and so on. And the sun and Mercury are not going to conjunct again until a little bit later down the line. So, in summary, what sort of support does the Taurus part of your chart need? What further actions do you need to take over the next till August the 20th? Go for it. Give it what it needs. Explore opportunities. Be in communication. Let Venus retrograde bring opportunities. Let those opportunities force you to think about and learn about how you need to deploy your resources and which relationships you need to nurture and which relationships you need to release or dial down. All of this goes back to the Venus retrograde video. Till August the 13th at least, but while Venus is retrograde, till September the 4th. Till August the 20th, remain expansive. After August the 20th, but particularly as you head towards August the 23rd, till September the 6th at least, but while Mercury is retrograde, till September the 15th, let the retrograde Mercury make you think about how you're going to execute on the opportunities that you are planning to commit to or have committed to or thinking about. Let information come to you about what it is that you don't know or know. And once Mercury goes direct after September 15th, especially after around September the 18th, once it starts to finally move in the sky, start doing what you need in order to board the plane by the end of September or in the middle of October. That's the way I would describe it with this. Okay? That's the way I would explain, describe, and put this. You are preparing to move forward let's just make it this analogy one more time. You're preparing to board some sort of a plane by the end of September or the middle of October. Between now and while Venus is retrograde, but let's say between now and August the 20th, it's about itinerary and dreaming about and envisioning and getting clear on what is in your heart and what your goals are and where it is that you want to go. At the same time, while Venus is retrograde, it's also time to be clear about, well, how am I going to make this happen financially, resource-wise? Am I spending money in the wrong places? Am I spending money in the right places? How do I need to think about my money and my relationships? What is supporting where I want to go and what is sabotaging it? After August 20th, how am I going to make this happen? What is coming up that I did not know before? Where are drains? How do I need to adjust my plans? Is opportunity A, which I thought was going to be the right opportunity, but now I'm learning these things about it, still going to be the opportunity I pursue? Am I going to have to completely go back to the drawing board once more time and figure out what is the right plan for me and the right direction based on what I know now? This is all Mercury retrograde, and I'm not talking about the mundane inconveniences that it brings up. Am I on the right path? Am I on the right track? Have I processed information that may be disappointing, but I did not know and was in my blind spot? Am I thinking about how it is that I'm going to finally board the plane by the end of September, middle of October? And once Mercury is direct after September 15th and past September 18th, and even more past September the 30th, let's just say by the middle of October, once we have the Libra new moon solar eclipse, but I would say for some people before that, by that time, you are on that plane. And remember that Mercury and Mars conjunct on October 23rd, but Venus and Mars conjunct, and they were not able to conjunct till February the 22nd of next year. So whatever is being planned is something that can be consummated. There's a longer vision that takes us to the end of February of next year that you kind of need to be thinking about. If you're boarding a plane by the middle of October, it's because you're boarding a plane that you're going to be flying till about that time, with a detour that will happen when Mercury goes retrograde again at the end of this year. Okay, that's the best I can do for you. Once again, Mercury direct, Mercury enters shadow period August the 3rd, goes retrograde August the 23rd, meets up with the Sun September the 6th, September the 15th direct again, September the 13th clears its shadow period, trines Uranus, October the 2nd opposes Neptune finally, October 23rd conjuncts with Mars in Libra. During its retrograde and during its shadow period, Mercury trines Jupiter, that which is trying to create a new beginning and an ending in the sign of Taurus, initiate a 12-13 year cycle, August 9th, tomorrow, September 4th, and September 25th. Do not be too hassled by delays or things that are working themselves out during this time while Mercury and Venus are both retrograde. Do not be impatient for answers. Do not be impatient for final plans. Do not be impatient don't end up boarding the wrong plane or going to the wrong destination. Let the retrogrades do their job. Enjoy the planning. Enjoy the opportunities. Enjoy the envisioning. Enjoy wondering, is it going to be this or is it going to be this? Or am I going to remain where I am and kind of grow where I'm here? Enjoy the uncertainty and the lack of clarity with regard to which plane you're boarding and where it's heading for now. Be careful of impatience. Be careful of not sitting with the retrogrades and not letting them try to be your best self in communication with these retrogrades and patiently waiting to see what needs to happen. Listen to my Venus retrograde video also. Pay attention to what you need to be in order to be appropriately lean and mean, as I call it. And the Venus retrograde video will explain financially and in terms of relationships so that you can go in the direction you want to go. Be clear that you know and are committed to the right things. What is in your heart? What are you committing to? Where are you trying to go? Trying to avail of the opportunities that a retrograde Venus may bring. Some of these opportunities may be connected to past people. So there may be relation things that need to be sorted out. Once Venus is direct, there's the opportunity after September 4th to really bring a newly integrated you to how you manage your finances and resources. Once Mercury is direct after September 15th to 18th, there's the opportunity to be clear-minded about how to execute on paths, on your path, how to execute on your path, so that by the end of September and by the middle of October, you're moving forward. Enjoy the 2 new moons that are coming up. They are trying to push us forward. A new moon trine the North Node, another new moon trining Uranus, not to be scoffed at. So the biggest thing to do is to not let the fact that you are not yet on that plane at the end of September, don't try and get on a plane. Just do what you need to do and show up. So that these next few weeks can unfold with the right kind of flow. And you can integrate what you need to integrate so that by the time you're past the middle of September, you're clear about where you're going and you're happy about it. And you've done the work you need to do to sort out how your finances will support you, which relationships will stay, which will not, which will be where the volume and interaction will be reduced. And also you will have incorporated what you do or do not know about everything that is going on while Mercury is retrograde, and started to think through, well, how am I going to execute on this and what do I need to really do so that by the time you're at the end of September, middle of October, you can move forward. I know I'm repeating things, but I've summarized it. I feel good, complete. Sometimes repetition is helpful. If you found this video useful, thank you to everyone who left wonderful comments after the Venus retrograde video. It has actually made me commit to getting you, it has made me commit to not put an artificial 20-minute deadline on my videos, and I actually feel like I'm communicating everything I feel like I need to about what is going on. So I hope you find it useful. You can still break up these videos and watch them, watch 10-15 minutes and come back and watch more if you need to. If you found this video useful, share it please and get the word out if you like, or subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon. If you click on the bell, there's a wiggly bell right on top. Click that so you're notified when I do new videos. Like, comment, all of that gives the video more circulation on YouTube if you're so inclined. And I thank you. Welcome to new subscribers. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel and is patient with me. Until the next video, enjoy this pregnant period. Thank you.